we go. Here we go. There we are. Look at that. Look at that. Mother. Somebody should have told me about my caller. I'm firing somebody. I don't know who it is. Happy Thursday, everyone. I'm super excited. I'm welcoming Rusell Brand to the show. Yes. I've been a fan of Brand for decades, ever since his talk show, Big Brother's Big Mouth. It's a show that was so outrageous, legal wouldn't even let us show it. Which sucks. But even at the start of his career, he was a brilliant brain in search of food at a time when the shelves were bare. But now Brand has made the most abrupt change in his career, in any career, since O.J. Simpson. Brand was a great comedian, successful actor, bigger than most rock stars. It helped that he looked like Rasputin had sex with Janis Joplin. They even had him play rock stars in movies because he was better at it than they were. And before he got sober, he proved no amount of drugs could take him down. So he's a comedian, TV star, movie star, married to pop stars, hyper-articulate, dresses like a shabby hypnotist, tall and handsome, the hippest guy in Shangri-La. I mean, he inspired me to get hair plugs on my chest. And what does he do? He walks away from it. He walks away from it like Hunter Biden strolling away from a stripper's baby. Literally, he lets it go. And for what? To do a podcast. Because you know we don't have enough of them. But he wasn't pushed. He wasn't a victim of cancel culture. No, it's the opposite. They didn't cancel him. He canceled them. And no one does that, ever. He dumped stardom. So who was the side piece he couldn't resist? Something called truth. Here's a taste.
I've been on that MSNBC, mate. It was propagandist nutcrackery.
Well, just give me the specific example.
Do you want an example?
Yes.
The ludicrous, outrageous criticisms of Joe Rogan around ivermectin, deliberately referring to it as a horse medicine when they know it's an effective medicine.
Yeah, that's
what
not a bad
Rachel
example.
Maddow turning up on the TV saying, if you take this vaccine, you're not going to get it, when it hadn't been clinically trialed for transmission, that you're participating in the same game.
I feel so bad for him. It's like he wore that Joy Division shirt for nothing. But it's not like Brand was knocking just MSNBC. He was knocking us as well. But I can take it. I'm a big boy, even though I buy my shoes at Baby Gap. Because I know that I am biased, just like I know that I'm short or strikingly handsome. That's the difference. I don't pretend you'd mistake me for Edward R. Murrow, mainly because he's dead. And still gets better ratings than Don Lemon. So what could drive a movie star to leave it all behind to join an uncertain future, one that may in fact offer a way out? Well, today we're watching a narrative pumped up by algorithms and media corporations that incite conflict because it makes money, and it preserves the power of such algorithms and corporate bosses. It directs our behavior by spiking our anger with every headline and missing fact. And as long as we, as a nation, fight amongst ourselves, we can't fight them. It's genius, really. If only someone had said this 3 years ago. We're watching a narrative pumped up by algorithms and media corporations inciting conflict because it makes money. And it preserves the power of such algorithms and corporate bosses. It directs our behavior by spiking our anger with every headline and missing fact. And as long as we as a nation fight amongst ourselves, we can't fight them. It's genius, really. Wow, it's almost like I age backward. 5 years from now, I'll be doing this show in a diaper. So that's how I feel about Rusell. How does he feel about me? I bet Greg Gutfeld vibrates as a human being in hatred.
Greg Gutfeld vibrates as a human being in hatred. Greg's a bit of a swine and a bit of a snide. You're a silly sausage. You're stealing oxygen and you're wasting time. Your name, your weird facial orifice looks like a caving in anus, and most importantly, your views, your espousing of hatred, your emptiness, the echoing tub of your mind.
Very good. FYI, after describing my face as an anus, he received thousands of complaint letters, but from anuses. By the way, I consider that a compliment. The anus is very important. I can crack a stalk of celery in half. So, did I burn all my posters of him in a bonfire? No, because I remember that I had it coming.
You know it's bad when a left-wing commie scum named Rusell Brand actually weighs in. While Rusell Brand is lecturing the United States on bigotry, the deadliest form of bigotry, radical Islam, is spewing from his homeland, but he's too much of a coward to actually focus on that. He should talk about what's going on in his home and not in ours.
Ugh. So there you go. I'm bad, if not worse. Which is why I'm grateful Brand came here, because he didn't have to. He doesn't need me, that's for sure. Meanwhile, as Brand visits us and Bill Maher and Joe Rogan and Tucker, we see how corporate media and the government it protects go after all four. We know how CNN accused Rogan of advocating taking horse pills. It was a lie so bold, even horses said nay. But it was a direct attack on someone threatening their power. And now here's a headline from the New Statesman about Rusell Brand. We have lost Rusell Brand. And why? You know, I didn't read the article because it was behind a paywall, and if I want to give money to progressives, I'll tip a barista. But their reason? He's no longer saying what they want him to say. Just using the word lost implies they owned him in the first place. But now he's what Elizabeth Warren would call off the reservation. And of course, there's Tucker, who adds more and not less information to a story that the media claims is bigger than 9/11. And yet, when they get all this new stuff, they go after him instead. And why? Because he undermined their corrupt narrative. And there's this, an actual senator.
Last night, millions of Americans tuned in to one of the most shameful hours we have ever seen on cable television. And he's going to come back tonight with another segment. Fox News should tell him not to. I urge Fox News to order Carlson to cease propagating the big lie on his network and to level with their viewers about the truth.
That's one of our oldest senators. You can smell him before he enters the room. It's a combo of Ben Gay and He's calling a private company to censor an employee. I think it's good to hear that out in the open because, you know, they always say the First Amendment only applies to the public sphere. But when the government puts its thumb on a private company, that's censorship, too. And now the FTC is asking Elon Musk to identify all journalists who had access to Twitter files. Any word from any media reporters? Nope. I haven't seen a media this speechless since The View discovered an old donut in Joy Behar's armpit. And today, this is from today, watch how these Democrats treat Matt Taibbi.
When was the first time that Mr. Musk approached you about writing the Twitter files?
You're asking a journalist to reveal a source.
So then you consider Mr. Musk to be the direct source of all this?
No, now you're trying to get me to say that he is the source.
If you're telling me you can't answer because it's your source, well, then the only logical conclusion is that he is, in fact, your source.
Well, you're free to conclude that.
Well, sir, I just don't understand. You can't have it both ways.
No, he can. He's a journalist.
No, he can't.
I guess if democracy dies in darkness, they're the ones turning off the lights. So it's an implosion of a two-party system, but not in government, it's the media. We've been stuck in the prison of two ideas for so long. You have two choices, left or right. But now it's falling apart. People like Brand, Tucker, Rogan, Glenn Greenwald, Matt Taibbi, they're voices that identify with no one, and yet millions identify with them. If that's how the future looks, we should all be happy. And it's thanks in no small part to the epic journey of Mr. Rusell Brand. May it continue, says this flapping anus. Let's welcome tonight's guest. Like a scone in a volcano, he's as hot as he is British. Actor and comedian Rusell Brand. Truck drivers blush when she starts to cuss. Outnumbered co-host Emily Campagno. She's like a hair dryer full of hot air and electrocutes people in bathtubs. Fox News contributor Kat Tim. And his pronouns are bite and me. My massive sidekick in the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, Tyrus. Rusell, welcome to the show, finally. You know, do I still look like an anus?
I've been looking at you throughout that throughout that monologue,
Yes.
and if you resemble any body part at all, it is the most valued one from a male perspective.
Okay.
And
There's nothing better than an insult.
No,
good.
also, at that point, we were, albeit abstractly, at loggerheads with one another, discussing some issues around which we thought we were deeply at odds. But I can see over time, we've come to agree that, broadly speaking, decentralization and meaningful attacks of systemic power are the only way that America and the world can progress, to allow people to organize their own communities, to have as much individual and communal freedom as possible, to permit people to live as traditional or progressive lifestyles as they want to, and form new alliances is the only way that we'll be able to confront centralized, institutionalized power, and this is more necessary now than ever. And I don't usually say that to people if I think that they look like a bottom hole, Greg, so you should be flattered.
Why, thank you. Emily, do you think I look like an anus? No. That's what this whole block is going to be about, by the way. Yeah. What do you make of this? Do you think the two-party system of the media is dead?
I think it's dying in terms of its credibility, and I think we've learned that a long time ago. I agree with Russell that the new alliances you spoke about, decentralizing these alliances and the points of power, we've seen how strong the liberal woke left refuses to let go of it, right? How strong they're attached to it. Now, the largest amount of prosecutions of journalists in terms of trying to identify those sources occurred in the Obama administration. Here we have sitting Senator Schumer, that's, to your point, decrying the First Amendment, the Fourth Estate, the access to transparency and freedom of information. That's the very last person on the planet that should be attacking what is disseminating video of something that we've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on prosecuting. And the left always eats their own. We see it in Twitter. We see it on social media. If you dare to not have that groupthink, if you dare to be an African-American senator who's conservative, then you're called names I can't say on television. If you dare to not operate in lockstep, the left will eat you alive. Recently, Reuters and Oxford conducted a poll where they...
Are those two men?
They're two anal bears.
German
Nobody
men.
knows what they identify as, Greg. I only assume.
But they asked who people trust. And the top 10 journalists or sources that Americans trusted, 5 of them work at this network. And the articulated...
Was I on that list?
No, but not at that time. But the point that people articulated was because it infused fact with strong opinion. So it's not about the lies that we keep seeing perpetuated by the left and that you've pointed out that is a game that both sides play. But it's about those who bring you the fact and then say, this is what I think. This is my free thinking analysis, Joe Rogan, Glenn Greenwald, and the like. And people respect and appreciate that because otherwise they're fed a talking point and a script.
Well done. Kat, you know what I'm going to ask you.
If you look like a butthole.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, it's true. I'm all right with it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to look like something, I mean, look like what everybody has.
Yeah. Some people are into that, so. So look, I agree. I'm way more interested in this point at conversations about like the people versus the system than partisan conversations of Republican versus Democrat. I'm not either one of those things. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I never have been. And it's just become so clear to me that it's more about party than principles. And the one thing that's made that so clear to me lately is the views on the military. I've always been really anti-war. I've always been a huge critic of the military-industrial complex. I think the Department of Defense is more like the Department War Makes Money. And, you know, just you can see how many times they've lied to us for those kinds of, you know, ambitious and money reasons. But that's something in the past that people on the right would scream at me about.
Right.
And now,
I would scream,
including you.
Yeah.
Especially you. And now it's people on the left are screaming at me about it.
Yeah.
And I think that it's any conversation that we can have. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think more free thinking. And I can sometimes have a conversation that's better with someone who's like super left wing, for example, rather than a party line Democrat, for example, because at least they agree that the system and people in power kind of lie to you. And we should be confronting that and be honestly searching for truth based on principles.
Well, I stopped listening when she said I looked like an anus.
You asked.
Yeah. Last word, Tyrus. What do you think?
You do.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice.
Unfortunately, man, we've become like the mob. you know, and this is hot right now that people are blasting each other, but we're just one street attack away from falling right back in line. They're just waiting for the next so-called racist police attack, or celebrity decides to go on a yacht trip with his wife and she falls over, and we'll follow that for 6 months and not pay attention to all the good that's being put out there to people to pay attention to. I would just say this, you don't have to pick sides, but whenever you come to somebody with something and be like, we have this photo here that shows this, and their answer is, where'd you get that from? Who's your source? I want to know. Not, oh, I can explain that, or, oh, so that's their angle. Well, bring out ours. I mean, they literally had a whole production team. Yeah. I'm sure there's some B footage left of their version of January 6th, but instead it was, where'd you get that from? Who is it? We want to know. We want to get rid of them. Tell us now. That comes from somebody who's corrupt, because and just like if you were cheating on your wife and they're like, we have this photo, it's not, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't cheat on my wife. How did you find out? None of your business. Were you looking at my phone, honey? How dare you violate my trust? See, it's the same.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But it all sounded good, though. You guys are all on a roll. Like,
Thank you.
I dug that.
It's true. We need another weird, controversial celebrity death.
Yeah,
Russell.
we're just coming off the Murdoch thing. And,
yeah.
You know.
What if you were to perish at Fox News? That would be an amazing story.
I don't want to give up the gift of life simply to provide more fodder for the media. Rather
I think we can all agree with that.
The limitless glory and grace, the endless diversity, the sweetness of humanity.
Yes.
Just to give you a bit of a laugh, Greg.
Yes.
Just so that you can pucker up the sweet sphincter that is your visage.
Yes. It's not just about laughs, it's about ratings.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.